just like a question that you've asked that it can also be a question you asked yourself, but just like a question that led to like a really amazing opportunity.
Oh yeah, I think that, especially like when I'm in like the TikTok space, and I hate saying those things, but if you're like in the TikTok space or in Instagram, it's really hard to kind of break into some communities because it's like, oh well, we want someone who has like 10,000 followers, 20,000. I was like, oh well, I'd love to collab or I'd love to help. So I think like something that even landed me on this panel, or like at the panel at Crypto Mondays, or the panel at like I threw an event for Bitcoin Miami. I always ask people, it's like, hey, like, do you guys need help? Like, I have a wine sponsor. I might not have like all these followers, but I can help where I can. And then people's schedules get booked up. Someone can't make a panel, and they're like, hey, do you want to speak? I'm like, yes. So I think like asking myself like, how can I help the other person? Because like they're more knowledgeable in this space. They have the connections. Even though it seems like I might not be able to help them, I ask anyways, like, what are they looking for? And then, eventually you'll need me to fill in for someone, which is why I'm here.
So for me, I told you about that happy hour I crashed. I went out every night. It is my superpower for the marathon. And at the end of the blockchain conference, I caught COVID. When I caught COVID, I had to quarantine myself for 2 weeks. I didn't really get any sense of fever, which is minor, but I lost my sense of taste and sense of smell. And then I had a, brain fog. And who is the founder of Blockchain, she called me and she's like, Amy, oh my God, are you okay? She just lost 2 friends who's our age the prior month. And it hit me in that moment. And this was when Shane had to pack up and leave the apartment, and I was all alone for 2 weeks, right? No soul, nothing. And I suddenly had this, like this near-death moment of like, oh my God, I could actually die in this apartment alone. And I asked myself this question: what else is there left for me to do in this world? And it was to write that book. And then I met the following NFT NYC a month later. I told them about this book, and I told them how we have the same mission, which is to create wealth and harmony, and now I have this book. So that has led to everything now, and that was a great question.
We're circling back to you, Anne.
Thank you. I like how you added on the part about a question that you ask yourself, because I think that gives a bit more dimension. I would say a big question that I ask myself almost every day, and it's been a big pertinent part of my journey, is like, what are you so afraid of? Like, what is like holding you back? And most of the time, at least from my experience and the conversations I've had with my mentor, it's really just yourself. It's your own head, and like the self-talk you tell yourself, or the comparisons that you make, or the standard you put yourself up to. And in reality, it's as long as you're true to your heart and you're true to your purpose, and you value what you can contribute and you want to give in this world, I feel like things tend to fall in alignment, and you just really believe in yourself, and that is power manifestation. So we all go through dark times, and like the ups and downs, and like extreme self-doubt. Just that reminder of like what is stopping me from making a change, or like what can I do in this moment right now to just completely adjust where I'm at. And so yeah, just being in that continuous trust and flow of things, and very intentional, I think will take you a long way. It's just like, don't be afraid, and don't let the past or the future stop you from living in the present.
Yeah, well, thank you, Anne. And your response there is going to inspire my next question, so thank you. I think oftentimes when we go to events like this, we see, like, it's actually funny you guys are on the stage, like you guys are elevated, not us. I think it's like beautifully symbolic. But oftentimes when we hear speakers, we go to events and people are talking about their projects, we're always like, I'll never be like that person, or that person has all these skills or things that I will never have. And we often interact with others in the world and not, again, like Azim was saying, like the most successful people have somehow lowered like that negative voice in their head that can be really demeaning. But ultimately we're human and we all have it. And so I'm curious, like what is one of like the main mindset like traps or issues that you constantly find yourself falling into, and how do you kind of support yourself in moving through that? Because it's never really about, like, we all have our own insecurities. It's not really about not having the insecurities. It's just about being like, okay, I have this insecurity, but I'm going to move forward anyway. And so I'm just curious, what is an insecurity that you have? It could be just in life or while embodying in this space, and how do you support yourself through that daily or whenever it comes up?
It's a very deep question. We can get vulnerable. I think for me, a big insecurity is the pressure that I'm not doing enough. Or I could be doing more, I could be making more money, I could be achieving a higher standard. And honestly, when I start to think that way, it makes me very anxious, it makes me depressed, it does not make me feel good about myself. So really, it's honestly a very simple answer that I have is to take space from whatever is making you feel that insecurity. I'm a big advocate for meditation, honestly, like taking care of your mental health and just tuning into yourself and where you're at in this moment. And yeah, I think this space moves at such a ridiculously fast pace, and it's like every day so much is going on, so much money and energy is flowing, and we can get kind of lost in the sauce, honestly, and just forget why we're here, the technology that we're interfacing with, and like what is the purpose behind all of this. So in the end, we each have our own journey. It's not meant to look a certain way or have a certain number of digits, you know, it's your own process. And so yeah, just being confident that you know what is best for you when you give yourself the time to listen to that.
I would say that like maybe my insecurity is that like I'm afraid of failing, which doesn't really work when you're trying to build something, and it kind of means that like I will put off doing things because like I don't do it, I'll not fail. But the reason why I'm afraid of failing is because I was like socially engineered like by my parents, like always believe that I can achieve everything that I put my mind to. And it's kind of like, oh, put my mind to it, why can't I do it? Thanks to my Nigerian side. So yeah, I think that what I do is sometimes I just kind of sit in it a little bit. I think there's a lot of pressure sometimes to kind of get out of like the funk, and it's sometimes you kind of sit in a little bit and think, okay, when have I failed in the past? Where has it led me? And I'm like, I failed so many times. Look where I am now. Like I'm doing some crazy things that are really exciting and really cool. And I think it's just coming to terms with like not everything works out, but like the lessons learned is so much more important.
I think one of my biggest things that I struggle with is people pleasing. So it's not just from like, oh, I'm gonna make my parents happy and them happy and stuff like that. I think it's like, oh, well, like everyone's telling me that this is the next move for my career, or like I have to take this job because it's gonna project me. And I'm like, deep inside, I know what I want already, and like maybe that's not it. Or like, maybe I have a group of friends, like, oh, Christina, we haven't seen you in 6 months because you're working so much. Like, just go out with us. I'm like, well, I'm going out a lot for these things. Like, maybe I need to say no to them. And I feel bad because, like, I feel like I'm just like, oh, like, I want to make everyone happy, like, do this, like, do jokes, like, make my TikToks. But I think it's, like, shutting out the noise of other people. Like, even if they have the best intentions. Like, some people are like, Christina, like, we really want like, you to do this and work on this and do this. Like, it's hard for me to say no. And I think in a space that's growing as quickly as Web3 is, it's hard to say no because like maybe that's the next investment or that's the next project. But like listening to yourself and understanding like what your risk is it a risk for me to invest in that or a risk for me to go out and I have to speak at 8 a.m. It's kind of like handling those things.
I think my insecurities has evolved. Back before I found my confidence, it was all about money because my parents used to argue a lot about money, and so I was this little girl who was very traumatized by it, and so I had a really hard time leaving my job, my M&A consulting job. And even though I could see my net worth and I'll be fine, I still had so much insecurity. Like, I can't leave it. If I leave this job to save a paycheck, I'm gonna end up as that kid, really like sad about money. And I had my mentor who actually was there for me, Alicia Holmes, I think she's not here anymore. But she was the one that helped me find my confidence. And she's like, Amy, why wouldn't you believe in your own genius? What you're putting your efforts into other employers that don't appreciate you, why don't you put it into your dreams? And I think that was my kind of that leap of faith. When you leap from a stable job to entrepreneurship, there is this very scary leap. And I think once you make that, you realize that, oh, I'm actually okay. And it required me to do a lot of inner work, believing in what I'm meant to do in this world, realizing that I'm not here for other people. Even today, there are a lot of trolls attacking me because I put myself out there. But then I have to remind myself that I'm not here for them, I'm here for you guys. And as long as I'm living true to my purpose, I don't have to care what the trolls are saying because I'm here doing my best and being vulnerable and admitting that yes, I make mistakes and I don't know what to do about this. And people will want to help